With this huge crackdown in the edtech industry in China, it makes me wonder how likely or what is the probability of big tech companies such as Alibaba and Tencent going to be affected moving forward by the different agendas that the Chinese government is going to bring to the table. So I will first just like to give a shout out to Eugene Mo in my Discord channel. So for those of you who haven't joined, what are you waiting for? He essentially helped attach an article, or I don't know, it's a PDF about China's encouraged catalog and negative list for 2020. And it made me wanted to dive deeper into understanding the different business models and the underlying businesses of Alibaba Group and see how is it aligned or whether is it misaligned with the Chinese government's agenda. And this was published in 2020, so it's kind of up to date. And we also get to understand a little bit deeper into the psyche of the different governments and the different agencies in the entire CCP itself. So before I start, I did create a Discord channel for all you bulls and bears of Alibaba. It's definitely a platform for you guys to discuss, debate, or even dispute different theses or different arguments. The primary objective of the Discord channel is really to create the entire network effect for people to share different articles, share different viewpoints, and for people to just create a community surrounding Alibaba, whether you love it or whether you hate the stock. I think we are all welcoming. So if you're interested, please click in the link in the description box down below. On top of that, I've also left my referral link for both Tiger and Moomoo brokers. They're essentially a China brokerage firm that they're expanding aggressively worldwide, especially in the Singapore and Southeast Asia region. So for those of you who haven't created, what are you waiting for? You can click in the referral link that I left in the description box down below, and they're essentially running a lot of different promotions right now, and in different time frames they have different promotions. Previously, they're giving out Apple share. Right now, if I'm not wrong, they're actually giving out Pfizer shares. So if you're interested in getting all these free shares, please feel free to use my link. Ultimately, it's best to just earn the free money, right? With that, let's get right into today's topic. So in this paper, it actually depicts the changes to the encouraged catalog and the negative list provide foreign investors greater market access going forward. So Chinese authorities have used the system of negative list and encouraged list to guide foreign investments in specific industries in need of foreign investments and know-hows. It comes as a good news for foreign investors in the form of greater market access and expanding the number of industries where foreign investments is eligible for preferential treatment. So I think there are two perspectives we have to take into account. Number one is to really understand and to allow from a foreign perspective in seeing what are the different agendas and what are the important and critical aspects of the Chinese government. And with that, if you're a potential investor or if you're a potential businessman, you can then take into account all these different agendas driven by the government and what are the different priorities so they can segue yourself if you are in the particular industry and to help China improve their prosperity and to help bring in innovation and all the different good stuff of businesses. And secondly, more importantly, as investors like us, where we do not have a business idea and we do not have the ability to take advantage of the different carbon credits for EV companies, etc., etc. What we want to do is to really understand what are the different priorities and to dive deeper into the psyche of the Chinese government so that we know where we can put our money and which industry would have the least amount of risk in terms of government crackdown and regulation. So in this paper itself, it does talk about like the notable change to the encouraged catalog. So for industries such as advanced manufacturing and supply chains, production-oriented services, and the different regions itself. But what I would like to focus on is the China's 2020 negative list changes. So they actually grouped it up by different industries like agriculture, manufacturing, electricity, transport, finance and stuff. But in this case, in Alibaba's business, so they're essentially operating in three main business segments. Number one, which is the commerce section. Number two is the cloud computing section. And number three is the finance section because of Ant and Alipay. So you can see that in this entire finance industry, there's not much changes that's actually pertinent to the different Ant financial restructuring. So I'll just leave it. So if this entire negative list doesn't have an impact on Alibaba Group holdings, what if we take a look at the encouraged list instead? So in this entire catalog of industries encouraging foreign investments, so this is also the 2020 year edition. So this is like a, 64-page long catalog. I'm not going to waste my time scrolling through. So if you just use the search function to look at the commerce retail. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the commerce industry, which is like 40 or 50% of all the different revenue generated by the company itself. So it focuses on the wholesale and retail trade, so cross-border and e-commerce retail, and cross-border and e-commerce supply chain company, a unified distribution and distribution network construction of commercial enterprises. And under this category of e-commerce retail, I think Alibaba is essentially safe because this is the catalog of the encouraged listing of foreign investments. So Alibaba's main business is protected. And on top of that, there was this additional category under information transmission, software and technical service industry, where the e-commerce system development and application services, construction and operations of various professional asset trading platforms. So the professional asset trading platforms, that one is none of our business, but this entire e-commerce system development and application services, it's essentially what Alibaba and Tencent is doing. So we can see that the main golden boy of all the different businesses that Alibaba's offering, it's essentially welcoming and encouraging all the different foreign direct investments. So now, what about the highly lucrative cloud business in China? So if we were to just look at the cloud, under the cloud, the category states that cloud computing equipment, including servers, storage equipment, cloud and cloud services equipment, high precision mechanical parts, etc. So in this entire idea, we only have to focus on these three aspects, which is the server, the storage, and the cloud service equipment. And this is also in the encouraged list of the Chinese Communist Party. So you can see that ultimately, the entire Alibaba's business is quite aligned with the agenda of the Chinese Communist Party, which is also why I say not all Chinese companies are good companies, and you have to be on the good books, and your entire agenda and mission have to be aligned with the CCP, because ultimately it's a socialist country, and the Chinese government has disproportionate amount of impact on all the different businesses itself. So from my own contextual understanding and my preliminary assessment, essentially speaking, Alibaba has massive tailwinds to come, because as long as you're aligned with the CCP, I don't really see a very big problem in investing in Chinese companies. And last but not least, the highly anticipated Ant financials. So especially in the finance industry, I don't think that they are aligned with the CCP, and I would like to qualify myself. There's also been a huge influx of questions regarding when Ant Financials is going to IPO. Honestly speaking, I'm not optimistic about Ant IPOing this year or sometime early next year. I don't think so, because there are still a lot of nuances and a lot of details that have to be ironed out by the government and the entity itself, which is Ant Financials. And in this case, if we were to really look at it from my perspective as a foreign investor, and I do see a huge implication of WeChat Pay and Alipay being the dominant force in the financial services and financial lending space in China. And this is definitely not in line with what the CCP wants. But at the same time, I don't think that the Chinese government is in the business of bankrupting their own golden goose and golden boy businesses. So with this entire introduction of the digital yuan, I think it's really a very thoughtful introduction, and I'll be explaining a lot more and in greater details in one of my later videos. So subscribe if you want to see my opinion on the e-yuan. And I've been constantly harping on the fact that, hey, every single country will not give up the autonomy of their finance sector. It will be heavily regulated. Don't care whether is it a developed country or a developing country, because they know that the bloodline of the country is the money and the moving of money and the flowing of money and whatever that's going on in the different investments and the currency. So that's the legitimacy of all the different power. So right now in the encouraged list as well, if I were to just search for finance, the only finance that comes up is shipping finance. There's no other search result that matches finance. So you can see it'll be a very heavily regulated industry itself. And of course, if there's no huge revenue to be reaped, why would the government even care and bother about the industry itself? Because they know that it's a very critical and strategic aspect of the country that the CCP will have to keep strong control on it. So for Ant Financial, that's probably the most concerned business under the entire Alibaba Group holdings that I'm concerned about. But at the same time, if you were to look at the e-commerce business and the cloud business, I think there's massive amount of tailwind for both these businesses. But for Ant Financials, I reserve my thoughts, and I'll be sharing my thoughts and opinions on another video. I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I'll see you on the moon. Goodbye!